Hello friend, this is Anand and today I'll be covering animation in Flutter. So basically animation is a quite big topic, so I'll be covering this animation topic in 3 to 4 videos. So let's start, and do subscribe my channel if you like the content. Please comment and press the bell icon. Okay, let's now start. So here I do have just the basic code. We have the main application, and we have that one stateless widget. Inside the home we are just implementing one stateful widget, and in the stateful widget we have a scaffold where we are printing text in the center of the scaffold container. So that's a simple basic application, and let me tell you what all I will be covering in these 3 to 4 videos. So I'll be covering this animation concepts and classes. Like, there are certain classes that need to be used for animation. I'll be simple rendering animation, then I'll be going for animated widget, then animated builder, and the finally staggered animation. So let me run this application so that you get a feel of working with Flutter application. So let's check the output. So here we have the output. Now let's start discussing some of the classes used for animation. So one we have is animation controller. So we'll be creating an object of this animation controller class. So let me name it as a controller. Okay. So what this animation controller class do, the object of this animation controller do, this animation controller generally generates new value for every new frame. So in mobile, when displaying something on a screen, so there are different frames generated per second. So there are number of frames, so approximately 60 frames are generated in 1 second. So whenever there is a new frame, it will generate a value between 0.0 to 1.0. So and this value will be generated in a linear proportion. So like in 1 second we have 60 frames, so it will generate 60 different values, and that will be generated in a linear proportion. So if we take the range from 0 to 60, currently by default the controller generates the value from 0 to 1, between 0 to 1. So it will generate 60 values between 0 to 1, and they all will be equal. They all will have equal difference. So let's see, let's do one thing. Let's generate these values. Okay, so what I'll be doing, I'll be using init state default method. I'll be overriding it, and I'll be using this controller and this animation controller object takes few parameters. We have one is duration, that tells for how long it should generate values. So let me give duration as let me check what all values it accepts. So it accepts seconds, minute, milliseconds. So mostly we use milliseconds. So let me use millisecond 1000. So here 1000 of millisecond makes 1 second. So we are basically telling the controller to generate different values for 1 second, and like in 1 second there are different frames, different number of frames that is generated. So for every frame it will generate a value between 0.0 to 0.1. So it depends on totally on the CPU or GPU, like how many frames it will create, and sometimes like processor is a little busy in some other tasks, so it generates less number of frames. So let's go ahead. Now this value need to be stored somewhere. So okay, let me tell you one more thing, one more property of this controller, and that is vsync. I will tell you what this vsync is. So vsync basically it prevents the off-screen animation from consuming unnecessary resource. So like when it's off-screen, then also it can generates the value, so it consumes some of the resources. So to avoid that thing, we use this vsync. And now how can we add the vsync value? So vsync value can be added by the stateful object by using with operation, and we can use one of the class that is single ticker provider state mixin, and this will make this stateful object to generate the vsync. So we can use here this. Okay, we can use this thing. So we have one more class that is twin. So twin basically takes the begin and end, and it begin value and end value, and it's generate in proportion value of the controller value. So like the values from 0 to 1, so in proportion value it will generate value from the begin to end. So let's see. I'll show you. Let me show you with an example. So we have animation equal to, we use the twin class, and this class it takes the begin value. Let me begin it with 0.0, and it takes another value that is end, and let me generate value till 100, and then we need to provide some controller to it. So let me animate it with the controller. Okay, yeah, that's all. So up till here, what it will do, let me actually this twin is giving value from 0.0 to 100.0, and that is of double type. So I'll be taking here double. Okay, that's fine. Okay, now this animation holds the current value and state of the controller, and this controller will generate values for every frames. So to listen to change of the frame, we need to add one function that is addListener. So addListener will do for every change in the controller value, addListener will call, and it will update the value of animation. So let us call a function here. Let us create a function here, and in this what we can do is let us print the values of this controller and this animation, and let us do one thing. Let's take one variable that is integer, and we will try to count the number of frames generated. So let it be equal to 1. Okay, and here I'll be writing the print command. and I'll be increasing the value of I here. Okay. What else I need to print? I need to print the controller value, so let me print controller value. And I'll be printing one more value, so let me separate it with the okay, and now I want to print the value of animation, so value of animation with okay, this controller need to be controller dot value. Similarly here I will have animation dot value. Yeah, that's fine. Let us run it and check if okay. I need to put one more thing, like controller is not running, so we need to call one of the method of controller to start, that is forward, so it will do start the controller function. And now let's run this application. So here's the output. Let's check out what it has given. So see, we have used millisecond as 1000 millisecond, that is like 1 minute. So in 1 minute it has generated 20 numbers of frames, and the controller value has started from 0.1 to 1.0. so we can see we have different values, and the animated value, the one we have created new variable, that is animation, and value of it has started from 0.0 and like it end with 100, and you can see these values or the animated value are in proportion to what the controller value has generated. So if it's 0.98, so like out of 1, so out of 100 it will be 98.625. so this is like and this value are generated linearly. So between 0 to 1 it has generated 20 values, and they are like equally, they are at equal at same like they have same difference between them. So this is like linear generation of number. So we have not used this value in the build build method. So let us now use this value in the build method. So I'll be like for font size we can use the value of animation dot value. So like initially it will be generating a value, and the same will be used here. On next frame it will again generate a value, but we are not refreshing this build method. We are not calling this build method again, so it won't change, it won't reflect any change. To reflect the change, let's call a setState method. So here we have the output, and we can see that this time it has generated just 7 frames, so it was too quick, you were unable to see the animation. So let me do one thing, I'll increase this time, so let me make it 3 seconds. And like I need to dispose this controller to avoid memory leakage, so I need to call this dispose override. I need to override this dispose method. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, I'll be showing this animation part once again. So I'll be covering this thing after one more implementation. So this is how like we have generated like value from 0 to 1. Suppose we want to generate some other value, we want to generate different color. So for that we need to let me show you how we can generate color. So we can again create one object of animation, and this will be of type color. Okay, let me take this one, and this time okay, this will be equal to color. I'll be using color twin to generate this is color twin, and this requires the starting color. So let me start with black. I'll be moving from say pink to green, so let me use color.pink. Pink, and then we need an and to it, so colors dot pink, sorry, that is going to be green. Okay, what's the mistake? This has to be colors. Yeah, that's fine, but now this will accept just the color, so I need to call this animate function with controller. Okay, that's fine. and further I need to add a listener to it. Okay, we have addListener, and we can call this function inside addListener. Okay, so okay, should I addListener? I have added the listener, and I am not going to call the setState because we have already called the setState in above. So once like there is a change in value of controller, so addListener will listen to it, and like it will assign a new value to these two variables, that is color twin and animation, and the animation setState will rebuild the screen widgets. So let's run this much. Oh, sorry, I need to provide this color to some variable, so let me use this. Instead of using this color, what I'll be using is color twin dot value. Yeah, that's fine. Let me run the application. So here we have the output. So this time it has generated 93 frames, and you see how the color changes from pink to green, and you see one more animation, that is like it is font size of it increasing. So you see like we have two animation going together. Now what if we want this two animation going not together, like first completing the one animation and then starting the another animation? So for that I'll be discussing this staggered animation, and it will be covered in the staggered animation. And let me show you one more thing. So this controller is generating values between 0 and 1, and that is generated in a linear proportion. What if we want like it not to follow the linear proportion, not to generate values in a linear manner, to use some curve? So we have one thing, we have a curve thing which we can use. So we have like this animation curve, and it takes the controller value and generates its value in some curve manner. So let us see to it. So we have we have to give a so that is animation, and we have let's name it curve. Sorry, then we have curved animation, and here what option we have is we provide the parent based on which it will calculate its value. So let it be will be giving the controller, and then we have the curve which we want to use it. So let me use curve dot let me check. This is curves dot, so that is curves dot, and we have different option. Let me show you the image also. Sorry. Okay, we have bounce in curve, and if you want to see its image, okay, it do not show. Okay, let me select one, and then I'll show you how it does look. Let's use this show in, and if you want to see, so this is how it will generate the value as per this graph. So let us see the value of it. Okay, and this is giving some issue. Okay, it has to be defined somewhere else. Okay, let me bring it here. Okay, yeah. So yeah, now this is fine. So we have some value in curve. Yeah, so we have corresponding curve, like with every value of controller we have a curve value, and now we want to generate this value between a range. So we need to use some, we'll be using another animation, and we'll be providing value to it. Here I'll be using begin with 1 and end with 100, and it should follow the curve. So let me use animate, and here I'll be using the curve, and further I can add a listener to it. Here I'll be calling the function, I'll be creating the function, and what I can do is I can use this value. So here I just want to say that instead of creating a linear value, we can create some value which is different from the linear value, and we can use that value. So for this video, this video is quite longer, so let's wind up with this much. I'll be coming up with more videos onto animation, so please subscribe and like the channel. Thanks.